Thursday, March 19th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here with you. It is a wet and cold morning up in Banner Elk. That is the Banner Elk webcam courtesy of resortcams.com. Temperature barely above freezing there, 34. So it's a very chilly, wet morning up that way. Now, these are your numbers from yesterday. It was still a nice day, but certainly cooler than what we had seen the previous couple of days. 60 the high in Raleigh, Fayetteville at 63. The previous day, the high there was 86. 70 yesterday in Columbia. Around the Triad viewing area, 59 in Winston-Salem, Greensboro, Lexington, and Asheboro, 60 in Reidsville and Burlington. And it was low 60s, some mid 60s across most of the Charlotte area yesterday afternoon. Now, these are 5 o'clock hour temperatures this morning, and in many spots in North Carolina especially, this is as warm as will be throughout the day. Temperatures will actually drop as some rain continues to settle in, and a lot of the foothills and the Piedmont zones are going to spend the afternoon in the 40s temperature-wise. So here's the setup. Pretty good high pressure building down into the Carolinas, providing a dry air mass, and is going to set us up with one of our cold air damming regimes. Low pressure rolling in from the west, spreading the rain on in. So let's take a more detailed look at the radar again during the 5 a.m. hour. And you have this little batch of, a lot of what you see is not making it to the ground, is evaporating prior to doing so. But this is a little finger of some light rain right in that corridor. And you look off to the west, rain more extensive through Kentucky and Tennessee, and then arcing from there down into Alabama and Georgia. And so with time today, we're going to see this rain gradually settle on in, and it looks like a pretty wet night tonight before that system departs tomorrow. So here's how this looks on the surface map, that low pressure creeping in, and then our wettest period of weather really is tonight before that system leaves early in the day tomorrow. Here's what it looks like in a more close-up perspective on the Futurecast modeling. You see that rain trying to work in today, and then there's your rain tonight before it exits, I think, pretty early in the day on Friday for the I-85 corridor, and then by lunchtime for eastern sections of North Carolina. Rain totals here. Here's the RPM depiction, over an inch, in fact approaching 2 inches in the I-20 corridor there from Atlanta to Columbia, but only a quarter to a third of an inch in many the Charlotte and Greensboro viewing area locations. And the European model, not in terrible disagreement here. Now the total is much less around Atlanta and Columbia. That's probably more realistic. A much more realistic depiction there with the overall rain potential across the region. Now, as you get into tomorrow, that system leaves pretty early. Maybe some sun trying to work in across central and eastern sections of North and South Carolina, and a few breaks in the clouds across the I-85 corridor. Temperatures tomorrow still a bit on the cool side, but we begin to warm things up a bit. Saturday looks good. I think Saturday is the pick day of the weekend. Notice that next area of low pressure off to the west. More on that in just a second, but Saturday looks pretty good. We'll call it a partly cloudy sky and highs shaping up about like that. Now on Sunday, this is the European model depiction, low pressure riding along the Gulf Coast, and it's going to be a matter of how far north in the region that rain makes it. Looks pretty wet Sunday across South Carolina and southern North Carolina, and then we'll see if it continues to work further north from there. And then by this system, a relatively chilly day coming up for Monday. All right, so here's the Canadian depiction of things. Actually, that's out to Sunday. Let me go back here, and let's start right here. All right, this is the GFS for this evening. You can see that rain moving on in, and then here is the GFS depiction of our high temperatures today. You can clearly see those temperatures held down. A lot of 40s this afternoon across the cold air damming areas, all the way down into northeast Georgia. European depiction this afternoon, pretty similar, showing that rain rolling on in. All right, we get out to tomorrow. Actually, this is tonight as that rain continues, and then there's about around daybreak tomorrow, low pressure along the coast. And you can notice here, this is this evening on the European, and then that's tomorrow morning on the European, pretty similar to the GFS depiction. But notice here, this is by early afternoon, low pressure near the Outer Banks, with things really drying out nicely across most of the Carolinas. They were in good shape for Saturday, and then we'll see how the system unfolds for Sunday. All right, so we go out to Sunday. Here's the 0Z run of the GFS and its depiction of early Sunday afternoon. And the European, fairly similar there at the same time period. A lot of rain in Georgia and South Carolina spreading into southern North Carolina. So it's looking like Charlotte will see some rain on Sunday. Probably Fayetteville seeing some rain on Sunday, and Wilmington and much of South Carolina. And we'll just have to see if this can creep up toward the I-40 corridor. We get on out then to Monday, and that is a pretty chilly high pressure building down behind that system. So Monday looking like a cool day with a good deal of cloud cover. And then the GFS, it's not giving up on this idea of Tuesday morning, seeing a little bit of light wintry precip in northwestern North Carolina as a little impulse moves through. Now, the European not sold on that scenario at all. In fact, it has no precipitation there on Tuesday. And then you get out to Wednesday, and looks like a chilly start to the day Wednesday, but then things improving from there before the next chance of some rain rolls in by late Thursday. Now, very quickly, let me show you the Canadian model depiction of this. This is Sunday evening, and you can see that rain trying to work further to the north in North Carolina. It certainly looks wet than Monday on the Canadian model. It goes nuts with this system, really amplifying it, so you have a very chilly rain scenario on Monday on the Canadian model. And then by Tuesday, it too has a little bit of light wintry precip still being indicated on the backside of that departing system. That would just kind of be a novelty deal, not a big deal there, but kind of interesting to note nonetheless. So again, the Canadian, let me just show you the difference here. This is Monday on the Canadian model, and let's go out here to Monday on the GFS. Okay, pretty different there. Not much going on in the European either. So we'll see. For the time being, it looks like a little chance of some rain across southern North Carolina Sunday. And then for the time being, I've gone mainly dry Monday and Tuesday. But we'll kind of have to see how that plays out. All right, that's it for today's edition of the video. Everybody have a wonderful day, and God bless.